Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ahead of the Curve, the podcast where we talk to the sharpest minds in the commodity markets about the trends shaping the future of trading, risk, and strategy. If you're new here, Ahead of the Curve is brought to you by Loxy Technology, a front office CTRM built specifically for commodity derivative traders. Whether it's energy, metals, or emissions, Loxy helps trading desks ditch the spreadsheets and legacy systems by offering real-time risk, fast onboarding, and full transparency across P&L, VAR, and exposures. We're proud to be building Loxy in partnership with the industry, and this podcast is part of that journey. Each episode, we sit down with traders, analysts, lawyers, technologists, and anyone with an edge to explore what's really going on behind the headlines and what it means for the markets. Today, I am joined by Barry Corbett, Head of Global Client Development and Head of Buy-Side at the London Metal Exchange, for a candid conversation on modernisation, market transparency, and the evolving role of metals in global finance. Barry, it's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So before we kind of dive into the core of the conversation, can you tell me about your career journey and what kind of led you to the London Metal Exchange?
Yeah, certainly. Let's say thanks for having me on and pleasure to speak. So I started my career in commodities. I spent a long time with a European investment bank where I latterly led exchange traded commodities sales and trading in EMEA. So I used to trade on the LME in addition to numerous other global commodities markets. And in my latter period with the bank, I did an MBA alongside my role. I did it at Cass Business School. It's now known as Bayes Business School, I think. I did a thesis on the impact of fintech and financial services. That led me to spending a number of years working in fintech. And then the opportunity arose to join the LME. So re-entering the market in a different capacity and a different perspective. I've been here, a little over 2.5 years now, and thoroughly enjoyed it.
Okay, awesome. Really interesting that you kind of pivoted away from the trading and commodity side of things and went directly into fintech as well. So could you share a bit more about what kind of your role entails? So you said you previously traded at your investment bank. So what kind of differentiates your role at the LME?
Yeah, absolutely. So the LME has a distinction between members and clients. So in terms of global client development, we're the primary means of client engagement. It means we're also a conduit to the market. So we're not only promoting the LME, we're also educating participants and prospective participants. We're also ensuring the voice of the client is captured and amplified and therefore informs our strategy. So that means that we play a critical role in formation and execution of strategy as well. And look, we also have a real privilege in terms of working with every aspect of the business and a really diverse stakeholder network across the market. So look, there's a huge amount of variety there.
What particularly kind of stands out to you, and what's the most exciting aspect of that kind of variety?
It is that broad spectrum of parties that you deal with, both internally, but yeah, as I say, across the market. I mean, we do obviously get to speak to and work with the entire industry, and that obviously encompasses various different forms and various different participants who have, views, insights that, really help inform not only us in terms of our understanding of the market and what's important, but also, how the market should be constituted and what are the key factors that are driving activity, and that's invaluable because having that breadth of input is somewhat rare as well, and that's obviously something that we're very appreciative of in terms of the support we get from the broader market.
So the LME, especially as of late, has gone through really some significant changes. So are there any kind of particular milestones that stand out?
Yeah, I mean, I've been really fortunate to join the LME during a period of immense change and also growth opportunity. So, there's been an enormous amount of work undertaken in implementing the action plan, strengthening the market, delivering on the promises to modernise the market. And obviously that work still continues. We actually just passed a huge milestone. So on the 24th of March, we went live with our new trading platform, Select version 10. Now, that doesn't really sound like a seismic change moving from version 9 to version 10, but it really is, because effectively what we've done is move from, the legacy platform that had been in operation for, I think, almost 25 years to, a new tech stack, a new matching engine, and that really sort of dials up our capability going forward. And that's been a multi-year project. I mean, it precedes me joining the company by a number of years. Obviously, that's always a difficult delivery, but I think getting that over the line has been a really sort of significant achievement, and that sets us up well for the future.
So the LME is one of the most traditional markets, so it was really interesting to hear that. Thank you, Barry. So can you kind of share the vision behind the new version of the electronic trading platform? That'd be really interesting to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, if you have to have world-class infrastructure if you want to support growth, you also have to have the capability to upgrade, to continually improve, and also meet the demands of the environment, because that's always going to be changing. So the new trading platform provides that foundation. It provides the foundation for iterative improvement. And look, importantly as well, it's owned and operated in-house. So the expertise and the ability to initiate change now rests within the company. That decision has taken long before I joined, but I think we and the market stand to really benefit from that going forward.
So what kind of key functionalities differentiate this version of LME Select, and how will it enhance the trading experience for participants compared to the kind of the existing versions?
I think if I was to broadly summarize it, it'd be modern functionality to support order book risk transference at scale. So we now have a deterministic platform with new fixed and binary gateways, a new multicast market data feed that's capturing both electronic and non-electronic activity, as well as order by order level 3 data. So that's the most comprehensive view of the order book. We've been able to introduce as well immediate improvements such as GTCs from day one. But I think most importantly, it's providing a new stack to build upon, to make improvements in a way that really wasn't previously viable.
It's been over a month now since it's been released. Given the significance of the changes, how has the rollout gone? Have members and broader market participants adapted, engaged?
Look, I mean, we're still in early days, but so far, so good. I think the feedback has been very positive. Inevitably, there's potential for issues with any major tech release. However, I think the degree of disruption has been relatively minimal. I mean, we've seen record activity recently off the back of tariff announcements. So, the platform was immediately put through its paces by the market, and it's performed exceedingly well. So, I think that relative smoothness, and I stress relative because, that's not to discount any discomfort or issues associated with the rollout. But I think that's testament to, the engagement support provided across the street by members and clients alike. People have been working on this for a number of months in a testing capacity, but, also the genuinely Herculean efforts of staff internally in getting the platform to go live, with all of the testing and hypercare that goes with that.
Yeah, 100%. That's super interesting. I mean, yeah, it's always going to be hiccups within a rollout, but it's great to hear that it's been put to the test and kind of shown to the mark. So pivoting kind of away from that, the LME has been very public with plans for modernisation. So the electronic platform obviously supports that, but how have you seen, or how do you anticipate that this will lead to kind of greater market transparency or supporting the plans for modernisation?
Yeah, a good question. We announced our enhancing liquidity white paper in September, and that explains the direction of travel in terms of more transparency, more order book activity, and the proposed initiatives that would support these aims. We've actually got a follow-on consultation that's well underway. It may actually be out by the time this podcast is released. So the new trading platform is critical to all of this. Delivering change to the degree proposed, that's only possible with upgraded infrastructure and capability that the platform provides. So, we're actively seeking to improve liquidity and transparency. We think that's a good thing for all market participants. Look, we've also been very transparent in this regard. We wouldn't have invested the time, effort, and the capital if it wasn't fundamentally believed and supported at all levels of the group, and that's from the board down.
Yeah, 100%. And so how does the platform position the LME in the kind of competitive landscape of the exchanges? The LME is obviously a very unique exchange, but it would be great to hear your take on that.
Yeah, sure. So, look, it's a significant enhancement. We are in an environment of structural change where the importance of metals to both the wider economy and also as an enabler of decarbonisation, that's going to be a theme that will probably be around for the duration of my career and likely beyond. And look, don't let the bags under my eyes fool you. I'm not actually that old. So, we're talking about something that could go along for a significant period of time. That means that capital wants to find its way to this market as a primary venue of risk. And that's risk that is upstream from broader portfolio risk and therefore is increasingly important. So if we're going to be able to absorb and efficiently allocate risk and capital, you need quality infrastructure.
100%. And yeah, I've heard and I've done a lot of reading on metals kind of role in the green transition. So really interesting to hear that you mentioned that as well. Metals are definitely are on the way up. So are there kind of any opportunities for partnerships or integrations with other trading platforms or fintech solutions? What's kind of your take on that with this new version?
Yeah, I think, look, inevitably, you're in an ecosystem where you work with partners across the board, and I think certainly the upgrades, the platform that increases our capacity to both examine opportunities and collaborate, not least because we should have more resource available to do so. If we look at today, access to the market, that's supported by a large array of technology partners across the industry already. But look, we're also continuing to expand in this direction, and that's evidenced by the work we're doing with, for example, Metals Hub, who are a digital platform, doing a lot of work with them on sustainability premium.
Yeah, and kind of going into the sustainability point. So sustainability is going to become more prominent and is prominent already within the market, and definitely a prominent feature of the LME's market engagement. So how, in your opinion, is the changing geopolitical environment impacting your guys' approach?
Okay, yeah, difficult question. Like I suppose that the world is a very different place from just a few years ago, and rightly or wrongly, sustainability and ESG, has been caught up and become something of a victim of the changing environment, notably in the US, where there's been an investment backlash. Now, the LME has introduced a number of innovations in recent years that go beyond purely looking at metallurgical quality, notably the work on responsible sourcing, which now means all LME registered producers have embedded the OECD due diligence guidance into their production processes. And look, this is actually very consistent with the theme of greater transparency, because that provides valuable additional data related to the metal available on the LME. And that's a positive for all participants in the market, whether they are a producer or an investor looking to access commodity risk. And look, we also think that's helpful for price discovery. So, as mentioned, we've recently announced we're exploring the potential for sustainable metal price premia, working with Metals Hub, utilizing the sustainability credentials submitted by metals brands on LME Passport to demonstrate the meeting of that criteria. So, look, we're cognizant, of course, of changing sentiment, but at the same time, we see this as an opportunity to really enable price discovery, provide greater risk management solutions for the market, and ultimately, that's got to be a good thing.
Absolutely. So where are you kind of seeing the future of that kind of going, in your opinion? So you've mentioned your partnerships, but especially with the trends in the market at the moment with tariffs and the extreme volatility, where are you kind of seeing that being taken in the future?
Yeah, I mean, you're always subject to, I guess, changes in the environment, and we've seen that in the last couple of years. I think if we're looking at the longer term, and where do we sit in 5-10 years time, I genuinely believe we're just at the beginning of structural change in the economy. I mentioned it already, but metals as an enabler for energy transition, that's a multi-decade theme. So we've got an important role to play as a primary venue for managing metals risk. So, appetite for greater exposure to commodities risk, I think that's going to increase. And within that, the relative importance for metals, that's going to grow as well. So we've got a responsibility to meet those needs by delivering a world-class metals exchange that is capable of meeting this demand. We're very conscious of that, and that means change and adaptation. I think over the last 30 years, we've seen a mega trend in financial markets of greater access and electronification, broader understanding, technology enhancement and sophistication. And I think that's going to continue.
So what kind of excites you the most about the next 5 to 10 years, especially? I think that's probably where the biggest changes and structural changes are going to lie. So what do you foresee that really excites you?
I think the broader possibilities for this market, I'm probably repeating myself here, but I think there's inevitable growth given the tailwinds, I've been talking about. That makes this an exciting market to be involved in. And that also means that personally, I'm going to learn a lot. There's also really great people in this market, great characters who are very generous with their time and expertise. So, you combine those factors and, I fail to see how anybody wouldn't be excited to be involved.
Absolutely. And then kind of on a personal note, what has been the most rewarding or challenging aspect of working with the LME during such a significant period of change?
Without trying to sound too cliched, I would say certainly working with the array of people both inside the LME and importantly the market participants from all areas of the globe. There really is a great deal of warmth to this market, and I've benefited from the willingness of people to give their time, to offer their view on how it can be improved. There's a real sense of ownership, which I think is a huge strength here. And the other aspect is that I certainly, and I don't think anybody does, I don't have a monopoly on good ideas. So any insight that you get from a variety of sources, that's always valuable. And also, anytime you're sort of delivering change, you're balancing different demands, be they resources, priorities, or any number of factors, and that's always challenging. But we've delivered some major initiatives recently, and I think that's a great achievement. But I also think it's just the start. Change, in my view, is ultimately defined by the outcomes you deliver. it's also a constantly moving target, which in itself is rewarding.
Where can people go to learn more about the platform or get involved with the LME in general? You guys host a number of events during the year, but it would be really interesting to kind of hear it from your perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, firstly, LME.com, there's a raft of information related to not only the platform, but the LME in general. Or better still, come and talk to us. Come and talk to, global client development. We don't bite. Always happy to speak. Always good to meet, new parties who are interested in the market, and obviously help them in that regard as well. So, and in addition to that, as you mentioned, we're present at a lot of industry events, both ones we host, ones we attend. But yeah, get in contact with us, speak to us.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Barry, for taking the time to speak with us today. Is there anything else that you want to share with our audience?
Yeah, I think, just in terms of the aspects I talked about, the pieces coming up, please keep an eye out. We'll obviously for the announcements we have around consultations, ideas, changes, initiatives to the market. There's an ever-ready stream of these pieces where we never leave people short of reading material. So, that's probably helpful if you're looking for information around the market. But also importantly for us, it's hugely important to get the views and input of the market in general. So please engage on those initiatives. Please get in contact. Please speak to us, and we look forward to working with everybody on moving the market forward.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Barry. It's been a pleasure. Oh, and to our listeners, we hope you enjoyed today's episode and enjoyed hearing about LME Select version 10 and the progress of metals in the broader market. Make sure to subscribe to Ahead of the Curve for more insights and timely discussions on the commodity markets. We have some really exciting episodes coming up, and learn more about LOXI via our website, www.loxitech.com.